Before Barbara Zhang came to Toronto 4 years ago, she was a computer teacher in China. It's always hard being a newcomer and not being able to speak the language. She found it hard to know what to do. Now Barbara is a settlement counselor, a career she chose so she could help see people through the same situation she experienced.
I think most of the new immigrants, when they come here, they have the same problem too. So that's why, the people, they want to come to us and ask any questions they want. And it's free.
Okay. No, she said I can hang up the phone and she will call you probably. Okay, bye.
Barbara's job has two main parts. The first one is one-on-one counseling with individual clients. Basically, she provides settlement services to individual clients. If newcomers are having problems that they don't know how to deal with, they can come to her for support and information. Sometimes, if the situation is desperate, she provides counseling, also helping them get social assistance, employment, insurance, and citizenship. The second part is workshop facilitation. Every month, Barbara and her co-workers facilitate and organize at least one workshop for their clients. For example, they help newcomers understand children's social benefit in Canada, or understand community involvement in training and employment opportunities in non-profit organizations.
We would like to give some information, for example, how to get a job, what is the labor market information about, like some issues related to family, to kids, to the education. For example, like how to apply for OSAP. I think, lots of immigrants, they come here, they want to get the education, but maybe they are consider about their financial, situation. They need maybe other support from the government or from the school.
有一次我在参加讲座的时候呢，就是芭芭拉是主讲人，我觉得她这个人呢特别上进，特别这个思维特别好，而且呢这个就是服务态度啦，各方面也都挺好。就通过这次讲座我们就认识了，以后呢我有一些个问题啊，有一些困难啦，我也经常向她来咨询，所以现在我们成了一个好朋友。
I think I really understand them. That's why I'm here and as a settlement counselor to provide service to newcomers, because I understand their situation. And I think I'm able to help them to go through this period of time to build a better life in Canada.
It's amazing that after so little time, Barbara now works helping people who went through the same things that she did.
Definitely. I mean, I can't even imagine going through that kind of transition. I think I'll just stick to my monthly trips to Cuba.
Monthly trips?
Well, maybe not that many, but the second I get a chance, I'm there. But for all of you still watching, stay tuned because there's still a lot more to come on
The Journal. And we're back on The Journal. In case you guys didn't know, The Journal is produced by broadcasting and film students studying at Centennial College in Toronto. We're just finishing our second year here in school.
Yeah, that's right. And the show is entirely produced of a class of 14 people. And everyone in that class produces 2 stories and participates in the overall production of the story. But anyways, later we've got a really great artist coming up, and I'm excited for the band.
I know, you do sound excited.
I am. And I know that for sure. I love them. Their stuff was awesome. I heard their stuff the other day, and I couldn't get over it. I loved it.
Okay, Lisa, you have to continue your excitement a little longer. Because first we need to figure out who exactly the Toronto Islands belong to.
That's right. There's been a 40-year debate between residents at Metro Parks Department over who this property really belongs to.
Our reporter Mike Warner set out to the Island Ferry to talk to a longtime resident who's been living there through it all.
The Toronto Islands are unlike any other part of Toronto. From the fact that they are only accessible by boat, to the banning of all motorized vehicles not required for service. Join me today as we learn a little more about a true Toronto landmark, the Toronto Islands. Despite only being accessible by boat, the island does possess a community of homes which just as easily could not have existed today. The island community reached its peak around the 1950s when it was made up of some 630 cottages and homes. In addition to established businesses including a movie theater, a bowling alley, a grocery store, hotels, and dance halls. The reason Toronto Island's community peaked in the early 50s was because of the creation of Metropolitan Toronto Council, which undertook an initiative to remove the community and replace it with parkland. The construction of the Gardiner Expressway had removed many acres of parkland from along the Toronto waterfront. The island's land was allocated to replace it. In 1955, the city transferred the island land to the Metro Parks Department, which began to demolish the homes of leaseholders that had given up their leases or those whose leases had expired. By 1963, all island residents willing to leave had gone, and those remaining began to fight the Parks Department's plan to remove their homes. After nearly 40 years of legal battles, the Toronto Island community was rewarded when the Government of Ontario passed the Toronto Island's Residential Community Stewardship Act, which allowed island residents to purchase 99-year land leases from a corporation known as the Land Trust. Elizabeth Amer has been a Toronto Island resident for more than 40 years and is personally familiar with the history of the island involving the Metro Parks Department and the 99-year land leases.
When the regional municipal government Metropolitan Toronto was created in the mid-50s, it took over the island from the City of Toronto as a park. It was actually the only park that they had. The Parks Commissioner of the day, Tommy Thompson, decided that you couldn't have a park with houses in it, notwithstanding the fact that this park had houses, and that the two had been quite harmonious and complementary. No one was really aware of any conflict between the uses. He decided, oh no, this will all have to be cleared away. And why did he decide to do that? Well, I'm sure I don't know, except that it was the 50s. Planning of the day was not very progressive in the sense that it didn't value mixed use, either mixed land use in the sense that you would have parks and people, parks and residential together in harmony. And it wasn't that people didn't fight; they did fight, but there wasn't a real tradition of fighting City Hall in the 50s, and we hadn't experienced stopping Spadina, saving Union Station. I mean, when I tell you that the City of Toronto was going to tear down Union Station, you can't even believe that today. You think, what? But that's the sort of thing that was going on, and it wasn't until more progressive people were elected that this was stopped, and people began to realize you don't tear down your history. Yeah, the cliche was you can't fight City Hall. Well, today we can fight City Hall and we can win. But we lost a hell of a lot before we won. And we were able to save the houses on Ward's Island, the houses on Algonquin Island, and some along the lake shore up to a point. In 1995, we signed a 99-year lease on all of our lots, and we're vested in ownership of the houses. We had always owned the houses, but due to various legal technicalities, Metro claimed to own them at a certain point. It's our land. We've got valid writs of possession for the land, and your house, if you want to keep your house, move it off the land because it's our land. If you don't move it, the house becomes ours. So that was the position. And so we had to be vested with ownership of the houses by the provincial government when it decided that the houses should stay. When Metro took over, it was 1952. When we signed the 99-year lease, it was 1995. So that's a long fight